Friday 17th of December, and I'm now on my way to a place called Lords Wandsworth College, which is situated just south of Odium in Hampshire, to photograph today's show and tell, a cross-country race for runners. It's a local league event, which there are 6 events over the period of the winter, which I used to run in many years ago, but I had to give up 10 years ago due to biomechanical issues. It's a nice race. It's a low-key event, which is designed for average club runners, i.e. the elite are omitted from this one, so it gives ordinary club runners a chance to shine, and it's also a very fun social event, which there's often food and stuff available afterwards, and it's quite sociable. So we shall see you there. Okay, just coming up to the college gates now. It's a private school for between 11 and 15-year-olds, and it's got about 1,200 acres of woodland, this area. Lovely gate it's got. Just going into the grounds now at Lords Wandsworth. This is the second attempt I've had at doing a show and tell of this type. The last one failed to a technical issue, which I will describe later on in this video, but for now we'll concentrate on following the marshals and get parked up. Right, we're now at the gathering of the clubs. There's 25 clubs that take part in this league from around the south. I photograph 3 of them, which is Alton, my old club, Basingstoke, which is just to my right here, and another club, Chinham Runners, not Chinham Runners, Hatchwarren Runners in Basingstoke. We've got another photographer, a guy called Dave. He does the Southern Club, so we may see him or may not see him today. You're going to give us a usual wave when you're out there today?
Yeah, I'll do my usual jumping out. That's my trademark.
Going out towards the woods. This is the finish line coming up here. It's nice of them to put an electric fence alongside it. Interesting. Okay, for this event I'm going to use my Canon 6D Mark II camera, which is a full frame camera, but it's 26 megapixels. The larger pixels make it quite good for the lower light, which will be experienced later on in the woods. At the moment I've got my Tamron SP6 24-70mm f2.8 lens on there, because what I like to try and do is take a broad shot to use as a title slide when I do my final presentation later on. When I do the actual photography for the runners, I'll be using this, which is the Canon 70-200mm f2.8 lens, which is probably the best one on the market for this kind of a thing. And I'll be setting that to locking that off at f2.8 to get a very shallow depth of field, so I can isolate my runners a lot better. But you've got to be very, very accurate with focusing when you do that. Okay, I'm setting myself up. The race is about to start in about 5 minutes. You can hear all the noise up in the distance over there. Set to 1/800th of a second, ISO auto, f2.8 locked. I'm having to exposure down a bit because the sky is very bright, but it's still getting a bit blown out on this test shot. So it's more important to actually get the runners and the detail of the runner than what's in the sky. But later on we'll be in the woods, so the sky won't matter. I can only get one of them. Yeah. There's one that's hiding behind here. That's the trouble with that at the start. You tend to lose them in the crowd. One just gives a thumbs up there. Oh. This is where I've got to get a move on, and I've got a bloody hill to run up to get to my location before the runners do. Okay, I've just got to the second position. That was a hell of a climb. So they'll now be coming up this hill, and I should be able to get them just as they come in between those two trees. There tends to be too many in the way. Yeah. Well done. Another Basingstoke. Can I get the roots? There's people in my way. Make it look good. Gives another one. And on the move to the next location. But I've got to sort of not try and get in the way of runners here. Well, it's still coming up. There's some people on the way up to the finish already. Crikey. Right, I've got to get down there to get ahead. So I've got to try and get halfway up this field. So I'm on a turn point there. We could Right, I think I've decided for my title shot I'm going to take a shot of the college itself, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to align the rugby posts in the fields in front to the left, and when I do my title slides I should be able to put the titles and wording on the right hand side over where the college is, and there'll be a lot of sky in the shot, so that'll be where the words go. So here we are back at home. Brought all my photos back, loaded them up into Lightroom, which is the start of my process flow. Took 342 photos today, so I need to now segregate them into various clubs and then start processing from there. So before I start, I did mention that this is my second attempt at doing this. So the last event I went to, I set up my video camera, and I was trying a new microphone out on it, and this is what I got. So, lesson learned, when using microphones, always check that the mute button isn't activated before you start recording. So back into Lightroom, what I've got to do is, because I've taken 342 photographs, I then have to identify which photographs belong to which club. So in this case, 3 clubs. So in Lightroom, we've got a way of doing that, and that's through this tabs here, these color tabs. So we can allocate colors to whichever, like a folder to put them in, basically. So what I've allocated Basingstoke, which is this this club here, as a red, because they've got red in their jersey. Alton runners will be a yellow, and Hatch Warren, which you can't see in this photograph, will be blue. So that'll be 6, 7 and 9 on my keyboard would select them. So I go through each club in turn on the list below. So I just keep stepping through and just allocate those numbers. So going on, so we've got in this case we've got both in there, haven't we? So I'm going to allocate a 9 for that, just to separate them out from the rest. So but you're going to have to remember that they're in there to actually add them to their photo editing at the end. So here we go. So what we've got here is, I'm going to go 9. It's an Alton runner that's prominent here, so I'm going to say 7 on this one. So that allocates a yellow tab. This is a Basingstoke, so it's 6. You have to remember each order. It's not always easy. You always get it. Sometimes get it on 6 again. I'll go 6 on this one. So that's probably the photo I would use of that guy. Right, now we've selected each category, so all I have to do now is I'm going to start editing the Basingstoke clubs first, because that's the first in the number pad, so it's number 6. So all I have to do is go along to my selection here, my colour selectors. So we just click on red, and that now brings every runner that's in the red category, which is Basingstoke. So basically all I need to do now is go through each one of them and decide which one I'm going to use. So, but what I try to do is for each individual, I try and get at least one from every sequence. We had 125 red tabs there, so we need to reduce that by at least half. So we'll just examine each one and say I'm going to pick these because I've got separation here between this guy and this guy. So, and I like to have a bit of separation so you can isolate the two guys. So I'm going to press P for pick, and that just oops, I don't know what happened there. Just go back. So that should now select a flag on it. You see down here, there's a little flag to say that that's now been picked. So I go through each one in turn. That one's a nice. So that's of that particular guy. So is there any more of him? No. So I shall pick that one, and I'll just keep going through and just picking which ones I think would make the best photos to present back to the club. So now I've picked them. All I need to do now is I've still got my red flags, so I'll just go to customer filter and then just select flagged, and you'll see we've got 125 photos in the red category. If we select flag now, that reduces it to 61, so let's reduce them by at least half. We still may need to reduce further to actually submit to the club. Um, but that will be done when I've done the final edits. So what we now need to do is I'm going to go through each one in turn again and just select which ones to frame and recrop to get the best out of them. We won't worry about color adjustments just yet. We'll just look at the composure of each image. So how I'm going to start on this one is I'm going to just look at these guys and I'm going to reframe them. So basically, if we go into our crop tool, and that gives us a cropping frame. So this is going to be cropped as a landscape type photo. So I'm going to just swap that over to landscape, reframe the guys in there. As you see, the image is too tall. The people are too tall for the frame. So I'm going to go to a 8x10 image on this, and that now should frame them better. I try to, if I can, get the guy out in front. If it doesn't quite work, you'll try and get them to. And think if you're sort of thinking of our thirds, we try and keep the whole guy's in image. I think I'm not going to quite get this guy out in front. We may be able to get away with a portrait on this one. There you go. Give them a bit of space to run into. I still could do with less image up here. So let's have a look, see how that comes out. So yeah, we've reframed him. That's probably the best we can reframe these two guys. Can't think of anything else. So we'll leave that one at that. We'll go to the next image. This one's easy enough to reframe. We're going to keep it as a portrait. Reframe it. What I like to do is keep an equal amount and try and get rid of some of this brightness up here. So I'm just going to crop that to an 810 and bring them into the shot. Think about your image, give a bit of space. So tend to put them on the thirds. I try to frame it so that you try and balance the way they run. So his feet are coming towards me, but he's looking to the left. So, but he's looking into space down here. So I'm going to crop him in that. So he's got space to look in there. You've just got this guy in the story. You might want to just take that guy out of the corner there, and that just gives a nice frame of that shot. This particular image, talking of reframing again, if I open up what I've just cropped in, I've cropped him in from this full image here. So I've put him on the right hand third because all the teammates around him tells the story. So it's basically he's looking in there, he's waving at me. It's quite nice of him, and he's running into all this space here. So you've got the lines just leading in, and yeah, it's a little dark, but that'll be the next stage of development as we go through each one, and we'll be adjusting the exposures. So as I moved off into the woods, well, to my next location and got out of breath getting there, I set up. We got the photos of the runners coming up the hill through the woods, through the trees. And in this case, it was a Basingstoke runner. And the way I'm going to crop this, it was quite well cut, but we've got quite a lot of space here. So we tidy this one up by going again to an 8x10. And I'll bring that in, put him on the third. Just bring it in just a little over there, bring it down a bit. Try and fill the frame with your runner. So so I've got them on the third, just to get this bit of bush out of the way. So framing that, I'm reasonably happy there. There is, we've got the line, like a leading line coming onto him. So you've got the runners coming up over the top. He's looking into space down here, and he's running in that direction. So it balances him off nicely. So it's just a matter of just tidying up this crop a little bit without losing too much of the background. Just bringing the background that, so that I'm quite happy there. Could do a bit more space over here, I think. Just move it over a bit, and that finishes that nicely. So that's well and truly balanced, I think. So now we've cropped them all as we best we can. The next stage is to go through and just check on the tones and the white balance and all that is all set correctly. On the first one, it's roughly about right. You tend to use the histogram here to check. That's well balanced. There's nothing blown on the highlights here. You've got the yellows are a bit burnt out. I don't mind stuff that's burnt out here. It's better to have stuff burnt out here than blown out at the top end. So what I tend to do is the easiest option on this one, because they're all in raw, they're very easy to adjust. So if I go to the auto button, if you look at the sliders down here, just get rid of that for a bit. These are all the color adjustments that you can make with all these sliders. It's just to hit on this one auto, and it'll adjust the histogram. It's sort of made it more evenly, brightly lit the runners. So that's actually a lot better now. So that's about right. I'm quite happy with that histogram. The blues are slightly blown out, but I'm not worried about that. And as you can see, it's automatically adjusted sliders accordingly. So that's improved that one. And so what we can do now, instead of going through each one in turn, because the whole sequence here is taken in the similar light, we can actually go to the end before we actually moved on. So I think it's about, let's have a look, about here. Yeah, this one here. So if I hold down the shift and then click on that, it's selected everything before that. And what I do then is I can synchronize from the first photograph. So it's just copy all those settings all the way through. So if I hit the synchronize key, I'm going to get rid of sharpening at the moment, so we don't need them. All I need is the basic adjustments at the moment. Post cross, ensure that we untick those. The cropping, any cropping adjustment, because if the first one is cropped in a certain manner, it will copy that all right the way across, and it'll undo all my cropping adjustments. So it's just basically tone and exposure balances. So I'm going to now synchronize. It doesn't get everything right, but it gives you a base to start on, and then you just go through and then just check each one in turn. Let's just Control D for deselect. So Control D for deselect. Right, so we'll go to the first one, and we'll check, and we'll just step through and check that the colour, it's done the same to each one. So that one probably could be lifted up a bit in terms of brightness. What I do is I could just grab the midtones on this just by just putting the slider there and just pull the whole curve across, and it's bright. As you see, it brightens it up. Right, so the next one is probably going to be the same. We can just lift it just a touch to the right. These blown out bits are going to be bits at the sky. You can see the indicators in red, but they're an unimportant part of the photograph. The importance is on the runners. And I'll just go through that batch. That one's done okay. Completely blown out the top here, but I'm not worried about that. It doesn't show on the final. Again, the colour, the balance, the tone curve is here. So this still has stayed quite dark. So it's just a matter of just pulling the midtones across. Midtones. That's it, and that's just brightens it up in one sort of like drag. Instead of going to each slider in turns, you can just move the histogram to where you think it is. The color temperatures are about right. The skin tones are showing skin tone colors as opposed to slight purple tints or anything like that, which you can get in shadowy photos. So I'll continue to do that and then come back again when I've finished. This particular one, because it was in the shade, she's coming out of the shade into sunshine. The camera hasn't quite got the white balance correct, as you can see by the skin tones on the runner. It looks very purpley. The way to correct that is basically go to your color balance, and you can see that it's set a color balance of 4,442 Kelvin, but the purple is up at plus 20, the purple tint. So what I tried to do to get rid of the purple tint, obviously bring that back down towards the greens. You see it's fading the purple tint back to more to skin colour, and then just add a little bit more warmth, and that should now give you a better realistic skin colour in the person. So that's corrected that. So we moved on again. We moved up the hill towards the finish. As you see, as you can see, the problem was I was shooting directly into the sun here. So images I tend to be very washed out and faded and very shadowy. So it's a very difficult one to adjust. So we need to adjust this somehow. So if you look at our panel here, we're reasonably well balanced here. I'll probably bring down the darks a bit by just dragging that down towards the darks, so and bring the mid-tones up a little bit just to balance it a wee bit. So again, it's the skin tones tend to take on this purpley tint, as you can see, plus 17. So what we're going to do is bring those down to about 3, down towards the green. I'm going to then cool it a wee bit as opposed to warm it up, just to bring it down to still wishy-washy faded. Increase the contrast, so it's now making it pop a wee bit more. The end result is going to be still a little wishy-washy, but we can't help that because we're shooting directly into the sun. Possibly a little bit more clarity there, and a little bit more texture. By increasing the vibrance, it can make a difference. So happy with that now. Take that back down. Just take that purpley tint off of them. Because it's hazy, you just add a bit of dehaze to it. So plus 12 dehaze, so it just takes out that haziness. You need to bring up the mid-tones, and we're about there on that one, I think. So once we've synchronized our dehaze setting across all those backlit ones, we still have an image that we can do something with. Another trick I use is I could go down to adding a little post vignette onto it, which basically just darkens the edges and just concentrates the light into the middle. So what we do is just add a wee bit of vignetting. As you see, the edges are darkening in. Add a wee bit of feather on it, and that improves it further, takes that haziness off of it. So the last thing I do, I've now adjusted all the tones as best I can, is let's just look at the detail of each image. We don't need to go through each one of them, so there is a little bit of noise, but with sports photography, you don't need to obsess too much about noise in the background. You don't really need to obsess about sharpness either. This one's reasonably sharp, but what we can do is we can just synchronize them across. We go to our detail tab here. We've got our sharpening controls, and what I tend to do is hold down the Alt in Windows and then just check the radius, and then as you can see that it outlines the all the sharp where the areas should be sharp, and now just adjust the radius till it's sort of like you can see pretty much the detail in the image. That's all we need to do. I'm not going to worry about denoise because that's time consuming. We've got 61 photographs here and we want to get these out to the clubs as soon as possible. So all I'm going to do is take that all the way to the end, to the last photo, Shift Alt. We're going to hit the synchronize again. This time we're not going to try and synchronize this lot, so we'll chuck none, and all we do is we're now going to select detail. So it's going to just add in, going to take out the luminance and noise, so we don't need to worry about those too much. We're just add in the sharpening. So I'm just going to synchronize right across, and it's just going to apply the same level of sharpening throughout each and every one of the photographs. So come out there with that process. So all we need to do now is I'm now going to export these back to the file. in on my drive. These are all raw, so I'm going to have to export them back as a JPEG image. So they're all individually selected. So what I'm going to do is go File, Export. So it brings up my export thing. It's going to go to the same folder where all the original images were dumped. In this case, because they're Basingstoke runners, I'm going to put them in a subfolder and I'm just going to call it Basingstoke. So I can it still puts it into a file, so I can separate them later. It's going to be a JPEG. I usually select as standard, long edge at 1600, 300 resolution. Don't need the watermark on there. That just puts my copyright information on it. And so just check that they're done. Same folder, Basingstoke, and all I do is export as a JPEG back. So that now exports 61 files to that particular folder. So that's it. That's how I do it. That's for the Basingstoke. Like, all I have to do then is repeat what I've done there for Alton Runners and Hatch Warren, export them back to their folders on their hard drive, and then, as I said, send them off to the clubs. And I usually get quite a lot of comments.